Can you hear me?
Gabe, how are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good. So this is episode 3 of Dojo Drifter Podcast, and I'm joined here today by former All-American wrestler and UFC middleweight contender Mark Munoz. Kuya Mark, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, awesome. I'm happy to have you here. You know what? I've heard that it's pretty crazy over there as well, but I saw through your social media posts that you have the family together. So is this a silver lining that you see through this whole crazy pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it is a silver lining. So, I mean, although the whole world is going through this pandemic, I have both my older kids home, so my daughter, she's home from Hawaii. She's actually studying to be a missionary. And then my son, he's home from Arizona State, where he got a full-ride scholarship over there to wrestle. A full home is a happy home, right? So it's good to have everybody back. And we just got done playing volleyball right now, and I double booked. I'm like, hey, I got a meeting, I got to go, and so I told them I had to go, but yeah, my family's together. We have a schedule that we're just adhering to. I mean, they still got to do their studying in the morning, but in the afternoon and the evenings, it's family time. So that's what we're doing.
That's awesome. And it's been a crazy 2 months, but this past week has some extra significance as we celebrate that 5-year mark since UFC Manila, and of course 5 years since you announced your retirement. So looking back at UFC Manila, can you recall any fond memories from that event?
Oh, where can I start? I mean, first off, my family, got 3 or 4 generations of my family still there. They were calling me Lolo. I'm like, wait, hold on. Who is your parents and who are their parents? I can't be a Lolo, I can't be a Lolo, but just my family, I had over 300 in one restaurant, all my family,
Wow.
And the Munoz blood is so strong there, and I loved it. I loved being there, and that's where it all started with my family, and for me to go back, I love it. I love the fact that the Filipino fans were so welcoming towards me, and I love my heritage. I love my ethnicity. I love the traditions. I mean, I'm such a Pinoy. I'm Pinoy through and through,
Yeah.
So from the dress, I mean, I have like 10 barongs,
Mm-hmm.
So and then I just taught my daughter how to cook lumpia and adobo, so
Your post, yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, so
Dinner.
yeah, man. So I mean, it was awesome, man. It's something that I'll never ever forget,
Mm-hmm.
and like the Filipino culture, we family is such a high priority for us,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to keep fighting. I wish things were different where I could have kept fighting, but my family needed me, and my son was the straw that broke the camel's back and said, Dad, I want to wrestle and I want you to coach me. And I said, you know what, it's time,
Yeah.
because I was traveling all over the place, and there was already like a little bit of guilt in me because I was traveling a lot, not being home, and there were things that were happening at home where my wife, she was by herself,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt guilty. So so that was the straw that broke this camel's back when my son said, Dad, I want to wrestle and I want you to coach me. And so, he was so good in soccer and baseball. And I was like, why do you want to do that? He's like, Dad, I just love wrestling. I want to do it. And so now 5 years now,
Uh-huh.
he got a full ride scholarship to Arizona State, one of the top programs in the nation, and he's getting a free education there. So, and then my daughter, she's studying to be a missionary. And then my two younger ones, my youngest one is actually wrestling with me too.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, family to me, man, is pretty much everything, so it's faith and then family, so I placed my family at a high priority.
Yeah. And how'd you come to that decision that it would be a fight in Manila that would be your final fight? Like, was that something?
I didn't. It was a coincidence. Huh? It was something that just, I didn't. It just happened that way. It was a coincidence. When my son asked me to be his coach, I was like, I'm done. And then the UFC called me and said, hey, we got to fight in the Philippines. We want you to be on that card. I'm like, I'm on.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. And so I couldn't have asked for a better ending. And I had some tough fights before that, though, right? So I was cutting a lot of weight. I should have went up to 205. But I was cutting anywhere between 20 to 40 pounds, of weight. And, I should have went up to 205. Really, I should have. But, I was ranked and I felt like I could have won the belt, and I was so close, to winning the belt. And so my losses that I had before fighting my last fight were against guys in the top 5, because of, my weight management and stuff like that, it was tough. It's tough for me because I would take short notice fights and I would cut like 30 pounds that week, 25 pounds a week, and expect to be good, fight night. So it's all good though, man. Hindsight's 2020 and God's good. I'm living a great life. I'm still involved in the sport. I travel all around the world, giving back to our U.S. troops who defend our country here in the United States and where my family lives. And so I give back to them because my dad was in the U.S. Navy, so yeah, for me, like I get to do that. I was just in Japan and Guam about a few months ago, and I was in Kuwait, I was in the Middle East, I went over to Europe. I've been all over the world helping our troops out. I do that, and so, I'm living a good life, man. I'm coaching still. I coach my wrestling club that has over 300 kids in the club, and I coach MMA fighters like TJ Dillashaw, Cub Swanson, Juan Archuleta, and, people come to see me, shoot, who came to see me there for the last camp was, oh my gosh, drawing a blank. Big African American. Oh my gosh, lefty, kicks like a horse.
It's not.
This is what happens. He's a southpaw. He's a southpaw. He kicks OSP.
OSP. Okay.
OSP came and trained with me. Shoot, Josh Barnett. The list goes on. There's a lot of people that just come out and just want to come in, and Tito Ortiz, he still comes and trains every once in a while. So I'm still involved in the sports that I love, and that's what I'm doing now.
UFC Manila, of course, that was a highlight for fans here in the Philippines. Where does that rank in your top highlights of your career? If you could tell us what the let's say top 5 highlights were, what would you rank as your top moments?
Ooh, man. That's hard to do in just 5, right? So my first win in the UFC. I got into the UFC after about a year a year and maybe like just a little over a year of training. And I fought Matt Hamill, right, at 205. And found out that those guys were huge, you know. So I was like, oh man, you know, I'm barely hovering about, training, hovering about 210, you know. These guys are cutting down from 240, you know, to make weight. So I was like, oh man, dang it, you know. So then I decided to go down, and my first win was in Portland against Nick Catone. You know, when I got that first win, I was like, you know what, I'm good. You know, I'm here. You know, and I rattled off 4 wins in a row, and end up being ranked in the top 10, you know, in the world. And you know, those, I mean, every time you walk inside the octagon, it's an amazing experience, right? So that's one. Second one is coming back after my Weidman fight. I fought Tim Boetsch, and that's when I really just transformed the way I thought, you know, and you know, I was ready, prepared, did it right, and you know, right after that, you know, I snapped out of, you know, whatever funk that was in as far as depression, and I ended up getting a good win there, you know, against Tim Boetsch. Then being ranked in the top, you know, so my career has always been up and down, right? I've always been ranked in the top 5, always. And, you know, it's just, man, I look back and I'm like, dang it, I could have been a world champ. But anyways, it's all good. It's all good. That's just my career, right? My career, and I said it in my speech, it's just a lot of up and downs, but, you know, I was blessed enough to be able to be inside the octagon, you know. I had many world champs that were in my gym, you know. So here's another highlight, was just the camaraderie I had with all the guys in my gym. You know, I had, man, Michael Bisping, I had Fabricio Verdum, I had Babalu, and Muhammad Lawal. I had Tony Ferguson. I had Matt Lopez. I had, who else did I have? Man, I had the who's who. You know, Rain Training Center was one of the top gyms in the world, and that was my gym. I had so many guys that came to my gym to be able to train, and we had amazing times there. So that's another highlight, right? So that's 3. A fourth one would be my fight against Damian Maia. You know, that was a really good fight. You know, I prepared really good for that fight. I mean, I knew he was a good jiu-jitsu specialist, and everyone was telling me not to take him down. I'm like, dude, I'm taking him down. You know, I go with the best guys as far as jiu-jitsu. I'm taking him down, and I took him down, at will. You know, and did my Donkey Kong ground and pound on him, and you know, end up coming away with a unanimous decision fight there. You know,
yeah,
and that's my fourth one. And my fifth one obviously is, you know, UFC Manila. You know,
yeah.
I got to see my family there. Got to fight in front of my kababayan. You know, it was just awesome. You know, I couldn't have ended it at a better note, you know, than that, you know. So, so yeah, that's my top 5. That's my top 5 right there. It's I mean, I have a lot more, but that's, I'd say, if I had to narrow it down, that's my top 5.
Yeah.
You know? So, love it.
Yeah. And when it comes to your son, Trent, how does it feel to see him follow in your footsteps in wrestling like this?
I love it, man. You know, he still comes up and asks me questions. You know, I drill with him and I wrestle with him, and it's awesome. It's awesome that he fell in love with the sport I fell in love with, and he's rubbing elbows with with everybody I know. So it's really cool to see that, and that he still wants his daddy. Like he still wants his daddy to be around. I had the opportunity of coaching him and all the other college kids at a tournament in, I believe this was a few months back, but in Reno, I got to coach him and a few other Arizona State guys. And, it was awesome. It's awesome to be able to be reunited with my son and coach him again. And, obviously, I mean, he's got to, leave the nest and fly on his own. I know that, but it was just great to be able to coach him. So I love seeing it, and man, the kid is good. He has a really good chance of becoming an All-American next year, if not a national champion. I mean, I'll put him against anybody right now. He's tough, really, really tough.
Has he expressed any interest in after wrestling going into MMA like you did?
He knows how to punch and kick, man. I hold pads for him. Oh man, malakas ang suntok at sipa. I'm telling you, man, he's so good.
Nice.
Like he's yeah, man, he's so fast. Yeah, he's so fast. So he just, man, and he's like Manny Pacquiao, like he's southpaw, and mabilis and suntuk, man, it's just so fast. So I love it, but I told him, I said, listen, you're you're studying to be a mechanical engineer, which those guys are in high demand. Get your degree first, and we'll see what happens,
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes, but get your degree first. I don't want to hear about you wanting to get into the octagon after, before you graduate,
Definitely.
So, yeah, so that's what we're planning.
Awesome. And when it comes to some things you've been advocating, one of them is anti-bullying. So can you just tell me about, the role that bullying and wrestling has played in your life?
Man. So I got into wrestling because I got bullied. And when I got bullied and I got pretty much jumped by 5 guys, a good friend of mine comes up to me and says, hey man, you need to learn how to wrestle. I go, man, wrestle, man. You guys wear tight leotards and touch each other in funny places, man. I'm good with that. And he's like, what? You think that's funny? I go, no, man. That's just what you do, homie. Like, I'm good, And he's like, you think that's funny? I go, no, man. No. That's just what you do, And I go, I'm going to keep playing football and basketball. And he goes, I bet you I could take you down in 10 seconds. I said, yeah, right. You're barely 100 pounds and 5 foot nothing. I'm 5'6", 150 pounds at the time, right? I was in 8th grade. Like I was a big 8th grader, Okay. So, I break down in my stance like I'm wiggling my fingers. I can do magic to him or something, right? I'm like doing this. What you got, right? And he shoots in, picks me up, slams me on my back, and I've been wearing a tight leotard ever since, right? Wow. But it's not called a leotard; it's called a singlet. But anyway,
yeah.
Anyways, I got into it and never looked back. I end up loving it. That's. And it gave me confidence. It gave me something to work towards. And I found out that I was good at it right away, So, yeah, I found success right away in it and stuck with it and end up doing pretty good, man. I was a 2-time state champion, high school national champ, and I took second in the worlds, junior worlds. And then I ended up getting a full-ride scholarship to Oklahoma State University. And then I was the first Filipino-American to be a national champion, NCAA national champ. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, that right there, like for me, to be able to represent not only Oklahoma State, but my culture, my heritage, my ethnicity, to be able to do that. I love it, so um, I have yet to go to the Philippines, man. I want to go to the Philippines and
Wow.
and coach, man. I want to be able to help over there, so
And what do you think is the significance? Like some parents still aren't convinced that, martial arts or wrestling is the way to go for their kid. But, I'm a firm believer that, in developing kids nowadays against bullies, it helps to get into martial arts.
yeah, I mean, it gives you confidence. So like so I've had an anti-bullying campaign because I got bullied. Somebody heard my story. I've been able to have an anti-bullying campaign because one of the heads of the Orange County Department of Education was in my gym when I had my gym. He heard of my story and he's like, "Hey, can you tell the president about your story?" And so we told the president about my story, and he loved it. He goes, "Man, you got to tell the world about your story, and we'll do all the rest." So they do a workshop before I go in there, and they speak, and I just hit a home run afterwards, And so we get a lot of kids thinking about just respect and kindness and the golden rule, right? Treating others the way you want to be treated, and just building relationships rather than tearing people down, and that kind of stuff. It's just it's awesome. I've been able to have it for over 10 years now, for over a decade, and more and more kids are understanding what bullying does to people. So so for me, like that's what I do now. That's what I love to do. Is I love to share my story. I love to tell people that there's that there's that there's you can rise above adversity. Getting bullied. And then at the same time, like I don't hold anything against the guys that bullied me either.
Mhm.
If I saw them, actually I did see them. I shook their hand. I said, "Thank you. Thank you for doing that, because if it weren't for that event, I wouldn't be known right now as a Filipino wrecking machine."
Yeah. How did
So,
you react?
but it was I wasn't in UFC yet. So I was wrestling, and I came home during the fall because we had fall break, and football was during the fall. So came home and decided to go to a football game because my cousin was playing at a football game. Like this was like my second year of college,
Mhm.
and I go by the front gate because that's where the concession stand was, where all the food was being sold. So I go there and I'm waiting in line, and through the entrance of the gate, I see one of the guys that bullied me, that jumped me, and I was like, something in me was like, man, I got to go up to him. and so sure enough, I asked the person behind me. I said, "Hey, can you save my spot in line? I just need to talk to somebody real quick." They're like, "Yeah, for sure." So I go up, and he's holding hands with his significant other, and he has a baby in his other arm, And I go up to him, and he sees me, and he hands off his baby to his wife, and kind of squares up with me.
Wow.
And I'm like, ooh, this dude wants to fight, right? And so I was like, I'm like, and I just stuck my hand out, and I said, "Thank you." And he goes, just looks at me all confused. And I go, "Listen, man, I just want to let you know that because of what happened to me, I was able to get into wrestling, and wrestling got me to where I am now, So that's why I'm shaking your hand, because I believe it happened for a reason, right? So, and his face sank, and now we're friends till this day.
That's awesome. That's
Forgiveness is not for it's not for the other guy. Forgiveness is for you, right?
Mhm.
Talks forgiveness in the Bible. God, um, one of the disciples said to Jesus, Master, if your brother sins against you 7 times, do I forgive him 7 times? And Jesus says, no, you forgive him 70 times 7, So basically you forgive him every single time. Um, so forgiveness really isn't for the other person, it's for you. Because if you harbor all that resentment and that, anger and that um, envy and all that hatred in your heart, it's going to affect you. So I had to let it go. I had to let it go and let God, right? So that's what I did. And man, I'm telling you, man, it's therapeutic. you know um I'm just living by the words of the Bible and living my life as a just as a man of God and as a family man and a husband to my wife and a father to my children, and trying to live the best life I can now. So that's what I'm doing. And I've been able to, like I said in my speech, I've been able to impact lives in a positive way and use my life to do that. And that's what I'm gonna continue to do. So, um, and I would love to do it in the Philippines too. I
Yeah.
want to travel there and just give. Like, if someone can pay for me to go over there, you know, I would definitely go over there and give back,
Yeah.
as much as I can.
I
So
remember.
if you can make it happen, man, I'm there.
Let's see about that. I'd definitely be down for that. And another thing that you could actually talk about here with the youth is something that fighters don't usually talk about, which is mental health. And while you were fighting, I remember you brought it up that you had to conquer your demons and deal with depression, which you don't hear a lot of fighters talk about really. So, and mental health is a big issue now, especially with the pandemic. What are your, how do you think, fighting helped you overcome that depression, or how did you overcome those hurdles?
Well, I mean, I know there's different degrees of depression, and like I'm not gonna. I mean, there's people that have to be hospitalized or like medicated for it, right? So I wasn't that in that um that depressed. So, but I was in a dark pit. you know
Mhm.
I definitely had thoughts of like, man, maybe this life would be better without me, that kind of stuff. I had those thoughts, but at the same time, you know I looked at myself and I said, that would be so selfish if I did that. I love my family too much to be able to do that, right? So um because I wasn't able to do anything, because I had the worst weight cut I've ever had against Chris Weidman.
Mhm.
And after the fight, when I was training, I had to tape my foot every day because my outside of my right foot was hurt. It was injured, and so I had to tape it up. And come to find out, I couldn't tape it up for my fight, so I had to fight with it untaped. But come to find out, I had a broken foot training. I broke my fifth metatarsal, which is like your pinky toe, which is important for you to push off of, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, man, and I accepted that fight, and because I knew if I won that fight, I would have fought for the title, and I knew in my heart that I could be a world champ, you know. And
yeah,
so, um, I was like, you know what? I'm not backing out. I'm not backing out. And I'm too tough for my own good, man. That's what everyone says to me. All my training partners say, because I owned a gym. I have a wife and 4 kids. And, I coached all the fighters in my gym. I coached all the wrestlers in my gym. And I was just like owning and operating my gym. It was too much. I wasn't just a fighter, but I really truly felt that I could beat Weidman despite my foot, I was like, you know what, I can still beat him, because in my mind, I'm like, dude, if I win, I'm going to fight for a title. And at that time, I knew that I could be a world champ, and unfortunately, he caught me with that elbow, I had my overhand right was this close from landing, and he caught me with that elbow. I was like, oh, shoot, and I was out. He gave me this to remember it by, and, stuff like that happens, and hindsight's 2020. So now when I when I coach guys, I tell them, hey, I know you're not going to be 100%, but if your injury takes away from your performance, you really have to think about that. I understand if you have a hyperextended elbow that you can keep going and not it affect your performance, then it's great. Go ahead. But something like that with me fighting with a broken foot, like I shouldn't have fought, But you notice in that fight I was a little flat-footed. I wasn't bouncing around like I used to be doing in my other fights, And then then when I got hurt, to answer your question, when I lost, I told them, I said, yeah, I have a pain in my foot, because they do an evaluation of you after the fight. And so I had to get looked at, because of my stitches here. And then I told them about my foot, and they said, yeah, let's get an x-ray. And then come to find out, my fifth metatarsal was broken. My pinky toe was broken. Okay. And I had to stay out for a year. So, and at that time, my fighting was subsidizing my gym, and I was providing for my family through the sport, through MMA. And I wasn't making, I was making good money, I was making good money, but at the same time, I had a gym to support, I had my family to support, and it was a lot. And so when they told me I couldn't fight in a year, I was just thinking, oh man, that's not good for me, because I'm gonna start depleting my savings for the gym and for my family. Like, that's not where I want to be. So that right there just hit me hard, and that kind of fell in, because I couldn't do anything, right? Had a broken foot, had a cast on my leg, and it was just like, had a gym that I had to show up to, so I had to look strong in front of people, but at the same time I was hurting inside. I felt trapped in my own body, and so I didn't share with anybody, because Filipino man is a very prideful man, sometimes, and yeah, I didn't want to show that I was hurting inside, so I kept it to myself. And I don't party, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, but all the um pagkain, I love it, So, I cooked a lot of Filipino food, that's my comfort food, and I ended up blowing up big, to 270, and I had to cut down. So yeah, it was just bad, because that was a bad time in my life, Now I look back at it, and a good friend of mine, again, friends help you, so for me to snap out of that depression, I was actually, my friends were telling me, hey, you need to come back when the doctor says you can start training, just move, because when you move, endorphins start, getting dumped in your body, and that's when you start kind of changing your perspective, changing the way you think. Because if you can change the way you think, you change your behavior and your actions, right? So it was slow, I was starting to move and stuff, and I was still feeling the same way, like, sluggish and not wanting to go, but I didn't want to let my brothers down, so I would show up and do the best that I can and start moving, and thank goodness for my trainer, Todd Norman, who got me back inside the gym. He said, "All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do 10 exercises for 30 reps." You know, I'm like, and we're gonna do that for 2 sets. I'm like, what? You know, he calls it the Spartan 300. You know, I'm like, oh, dude. All right, whatever. So I started doing that, and I noticed, like, after the second week, I noticed that I started to feel better. But just in that moving, it was helping me, you know. And then the people, because when you're by yourself, it just escalates. Those thoughts in your mind just escalates, you know. So yeah, it was a low part in my life, but at the same time, you know, people help you. You know, people help you. You know, and you just got to surround yourself around people that do help you. So, and that's what I did. And I started moving, and I was able to get my body back into shape. And you can follow all of that on YouTube or on my social media. I hashtagged it, or my strength conditioning coach hashtagged it, obese to beast. You know, and so it's documented. You know, it's documented. So yeah, mental health is a big issue. You know, I would say, you know, the physical activity helps a lot. You know, don't seclude yourself. Make sure you're around people that are positive, that help you to get out of that. You know, because when you're by yourself, those thoughts will haunt your mind, and then whatever you put into your mind comes out in your actions and behaviors. So yeah, so I was able to combat it with surrounding myself around good people and moving, but it was a very slow process in the beginning. It took about a month and a half to 2 months to snap out of it.
Yeah, but I saw you got shredded after.
Yeah, shredded and unnatural too. I didn't take anything that was illegal. You know, of course I took some creatine, and I took some. What did I take? I took some vitamins and minerals and stuff like that to help. You know, hydrated myself really good with electrolytes, but it was all diet and exercise. You know, so
awesome.
And then, I need to get back there, man. I need to do Obese to Beast Part 2.
Yeah. So what's next for Mark Munoz? Is it, of course, all of us are just thinking of the time right now, getting through this, but what are you looking forward to?
Now I'm actually opening up a virtual website because I can't run my wrestling club, which I have over 300 wrestlers in my wrestling club. And I can't coach any fighters right now. So I'm opening up a virtual website that's going to help me do what I love to do, but at the same time, you know, keep everybody safe, you know, because, you know, we can't be touching anybody yet, you know, because, you know, of the spread of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So, so I'm opening that up, and I just got back from traveling around the nation, filming the nation's best coaches and wrestlers here in the United States. And I got interviews with them, and they taught a little bit of their technique along with myself included. I'm going to be in that. So, so I'm going to, within the next week and a half to 2 weeks, I'm going to be releasing that. And because I can't run my wrestling camps, which I run my wrestling camps every year, and I have over 700 kids come to my camp, right? So I can't run it, you know, because I'm one of the top camps in the nation here, and I can't run my camp because of the pandemic. So I have to be creative in what I do with that. And so I'm coming out now that, you know, I can only give to a certain amount of people. Excuse me. That's not the coronavirus.
Good to know. Good to know.
No, it's not. It's not the coronavirus. But anyways, my camps can only serve, 750 kids or wrestlers. But now, me being virtual, I can serve the whole world, So I'm going to put that out there. That's next for me. So that's my next project that I have going on.
Okay.
And I just got off the phone. It's going to be pretty big. I just got off the phone with USA Wrestling. And they're the biggest wrestling organization here in the United States. And they're going to help me promote my website. Then I have California USA Wrestling that's going to help me promote it. Okay. Then I have Beat the Streets LA that's going to help promote it. So I have a lot of people that want to help me in what I'm doing, and continue to do what I love, So that's what's next for me. And then I'm still going to do my military tours. I'm still going to do my anti-bullying campaigns. And, when the whole pandemic and quarantine gets lifted, then I'll still be with my fighters and my wrestlers. So, I have a fighter that actually just accepted a fight May 30th, but that's my 20th year anniversary. I can't miss my anniversary with my wife, So you'll see what I put out here in about 2 weeks.
Is there an official website yet for this?
Yeah, so there's two websites. There's thewrestlingroom.com. You can learn everything as far as wrestling. There you can learn, there's 3 rooms, right? It's called thewrestlingroom.com. You can go to room number 1, which is wrestling for wrestling, everything that in regards to wrestling, the sport. You can learn there. Then you can do wrestling for jiu-jitsu. I have techniques for wrestling for jiu-jitsu. Then I have wrestling for MMA there. So there's 3 different rooms there that you can go to. And then I have my wrestling camp website, which is westcoastwrestler.com. Okay. westcoastwrestler.com. So you can go there too. So those are my websites. And then anybody that wants to contact me on my Instagram or my Facebook fan page, you can go ahead. I always get back to my fans. So if I don't get back to you, I will get back to you. Promise. Write to me and I'll get back to you. So just message me and if you have a question, and I'd love to engage with my fans. So I'll make sure I answer you.
And then the library of wrestling classes and lessons you have, we can access it here in the Philippines. This is a worldwide. It's open.
Yeah. It's open worldwide for sure. I mean, I don't know what you have to put as far as the email address there for a U.S. Address. I don't know if you need to put U.S. at the end of it or something, but it's westcoastwrestler.com and thewrestlingroom.com.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, look it up, and I'm sure if there's anybody there that wants to learn, they can learn a lot from those two websites. So the one that I'm about to launch will come out on my West Coast Wrestler website. Okay. So that's where I'll have all the nation's best coaches and wrestlers come out on that website. It's coming out new. I'll have interviews there with them, and I'll have wrestling techniques taught there as well.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I could use an extra workout. And
yes.
Thank you. Yes. I don't want to take any much more of your time.
It's all good. Walang naman.
Solid. Mark.
Ayos.
Kita. See you soon. Oh. Hopefully here in Manila we can do something. Exciting times ahead.
For sure. Yeah, anytime you want to talk, let me know. So.
All right. Kuya Mark, thank you.
Sige, ingat.